Hello, you are watching an Avatar multiplayer battle video commentary for Shogun 2. As I'm moving my troops out, I'm relatively keeping them concentrated and together, so they can support each other. My opponent, though, approaches things very differently. He's going to divide his army. He's going to separate his melee force from his ranged matchlock force. If you look on the battle map, you will see that my opponent is moving his melee force to the left center island to capture the building, while I'm moving almost my entire force down to the right island. I also have cavalry. Up in the right corner of the map, I have light cavalry, 2 units, hidden in the forest, and they're waiting for the opportunity to hit the enemy in some way that they don't expect. My Yuri cavalry are dismounting to capture a building. Now this building provides a morale boost, and it's probably the most important building in the game. Now I set my army in a defensive posture here, so that if he decides to move against me in an attack, I'll have some sort of defense. Now the ironic thing about this match is it's the first one that I think I ever brought matchlock troops to. It's ironic because my opponent splurged on matchlock units, so he has, I think, 9 matchlock units. I only brought 1. Now my opponent, he shifted around his matchlock units from time to time. I want to show you where he's putting them now, because even though he's not going to keep them here, this plays an important part in the battle later. He's placed his matchlock Ashigaru troops in a ravine, so his view is blocked. Now he's going to move out of this, but later in the battle, this ravine is going to serve another purpose. Now I eventually decide to move my army against his matchlock force. As I am doing this, though, my opponent starts moving his melee army against my forces, but he holds back his matchlock forces. And although his matchlock forces do move forward a bit, they do not move forward enough to actually support his melee wing. This move by my opponent actually offers me an opportunity, and one that I start setting up for. I move my spearmen from behind my army to the right of my army, creating a new right wing. By doing this, I'm hoping to pull his infantry, his melee infantry, into this part of my army. While on my left, I begin moving up my troops to begin skirmishing with his matchlocks. Meanwhile, what I hoped would happen is beginning to happen. He's moving against my right wing, which is basically a trap. I immediately peel off some other troops to join in this fight. And I begin my move to close in around his forces. And I unleash my light cavalry. move them to strike his forces from behind. With no cavalry support, he has nothing he can do about it. And in a desperate situation, his troops begin breaking. And in the end, they all break. And this portion of his army is destroyed. Completely. A little earlier, as my right wing is engaging his melee force, I begin skirmishing on my left and my center, against his matchlock units. As you see on the far right side of the screen, the melee battle is still going on, as the matchlock battle rages on. I only have one unit of matchlock troops though. The other two are archers, but they're holding out just fine. But as I win the engagement on my right wing, I begin making my assault with the rest of my army against his matchlock force. But my opponent has moved his troops back into the same ravine he was in before, so a lot of his shots are being wasted on the hill. And to make matters worse for him, the rate of fire of these matchlock troops is just not enough to stop melee troops from getting to them. And in melee, matchlock troops will get massacred. And I attack on the left with my Yuri cavalry. And on the right, my newly freed up light cavalry charge in to hit my opponent's left wing. And while his troops are trying to still hold, they don't stand a chance. And I begin moving in the rest of my army. As a result, his troops break. Firstly, I want to say good game to my opponent. I thought he fought pretty well, considering that he had divided his army, and I was able to destroy his army in detail. It's a hard thing to fight with a divided army. Two things happened in this battle. One, he allowed me to fight just part of his force, and then encircle them and destroy them. Fully enveloped, they didn't stand a chance. Secondly, he deployed his matchlock troops without any melee support behind them. In Shogun 2, matchlock troops are just not good enough to stand by themselves without some sort of melee force behind them to support them, to keep them out of melee combat. At least not the matchlock Ashigaru. Anyway, I thought this was an interesting battle, so I went ahead and made it. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I want to say good game to my opponent, and thank you for watching.